Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking Dogman. Dogman is a 2025 American animated action comedy film based on Dave Pilkey's children's graphic novel series Dogman. In the film, a life-saving surgery fuses a police officer and his loyal dog into a half-dog, half-man hero who battles the villainous Petey the cat. Dude, these children's movies keep coming out of nowhere. I don't know how to feel about them. I don't know how to rank them, but honestly, they're always kind of surprisingly better than I thought they would be. Let's get into it with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? I used to read Captain Underpants books, and I knew that this was kind of a derived from Captain Underpants, but I knew nothing about it. And honestly, at the beginning of this movie, I didn't like the plot. I didn't like the story. It was extremely fast-paced. It was like the first movie I'd ever seen that was actually affected by like the TikTok generation, where it was just immediate gratification, joke after joke after joke, scene after scene after scene, and I didn't like it. I didn't think it helped with the story. I was like begging for it to slow down, but a quarter through the movie, it did slow down. And this is one of those movies that the story, the plot got better as the movie went on, which I feel like doesn't happen that often. Usually you kind of know whether it's going to be good or bad from the beginning. This movie seemed bad, and then when it slowed down, it got better. That also made it kind of harder to deal with, because when you're leaving the movie, you left it going, hey, that was way better than I thought. That definitely got better. It's hard to analyze it because you're kind of forgetting about the beginning where it wasn't that good. But I liked where they took this story. I thought the plot of this movie was simple and good for children. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? It definitely has a high entertainment value for small children. I thought it was done well and made for those children. However, it's not bad to watch as an adult. It's not great. I do think there's better movies, and part of that is probably the nostalgia aspect. Like some of the Toy Stories and some of the Pixar movies I thought were really good as a kid. I still think are good as an adult. But just watching this as an adult, it's got something charming about it. So as an adult, it's easy to watch. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it got better as it went on. Kids, I think, will love it. I think it was made for kids, and it was made well. Third is theme. What message or truth is a movie trying to convey? Now, this did something that I really enjoy with kids' movies, is where it has a message for kids that's pretty easy to obtain and see, but there's also a message in there for adults that kids, I just don't, they're going to glance right over it. They're not going to notice it, but as an adult, it's going to hit you, and it's going to make you think about your life. And I really enjoy that. I like when movies try to do that. It didn't do an amazing job. It wasn't like The Wild Robot good, but it was a good job. For kids, this movie is more about just kindness, working as a team, a really simple idea of just trying to be being nice is a good thing, and how it will bring good things for you, and how working as a team, you all have your own different strengths. Easy stuff for kids to understand, but as an adult, there's this storyline in here that kind of comes out of nowhere about being a parent, about dealing with children, but also dealing with your own childhood and your own parents, and how that's affecting how you treat your children, and how you have to choose whether you're going to be like your parents or not. I really like that. I thought that was a nice thing to throw in there for the adults that are going to be watching this movie. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversation? It's a kids' movie. You can only have so much expectations for the dialogue. It wasn't annoying. I didn't mind it at all. They were cracking a lot of jokes that weren't necessarily funny, but they're probably funny when you're like 6 years old. So I can't really be too mad at it. That's the thing with these kids' movies, is that even when they don't do things super well, it's because you're not the audience. So you have to be lenient with that. Dialogue is exactly what you expect it to be for a kids' movie. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Normally, with a kids movie that's animated, I feel like acting is a hard thing to say. You're just voice acting, and most of the time you're just kind of talking. There's some movies that you can really tell when there's good effort and not. This movie, I thought it was obvious that the people who were voicing the characters tried hard. They really tried to put some energy into this movie, because the movie is full of energy. And if the characters didn't match it, it just really wouldn't work all that well. But I thought the voice actors did a great job. I thought they matched it and were intense and weren't just screaming for the sake of screaming, but were just trying to keep the energy of the movie alive. I thought the voice acting done in this movie was really well done. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? Animated films nowadays, they're hard to judge because animation has come such a long way. I did think that this looked unique. I thought they did a good job of trying to represent the book. I read Captain Underpants, so I know what Captain Underpants looked like. And this is exactly what I thought that would look like. And this is this is closely related to that. So I thought it looked like what the book looks like. I thought that was well done. I thought they brought this world together in a nice way. But I can only give them so much credit because animation is just crazy. It's gotten so far that it's kind of hard to really just one-up each other in any way other than the fact that they were creative, which is kind of the best I can give you. The one thing I noticed with this movie cinematically was the transitions. Because this movie had a ton of scenes, one after another, and it was really quick and they didn't last that long, they had some clever transitions. It wasn't just like just harsh clips in there where it's just a black screen, go to the next screen. It wasn't. They flowed well. They had an interesting and creative way to go from one scene to the next perspective And as an adult who just like kind of looks at movies that way and is looking at how they're made, I thought that was something that could go over your head, but if you honestly watch it and pay attention to how the scenes are flowing, it's really creative. They did a really good job. I thought it was really cool. I thought it helped with the flow of the movie, even though it was so fast-paced at parts. It wasn't so bad because I was kind of interested to see how they were going to go from scene to scene. They just had really interesting perspectives, and I enjoyed that about the movie. Emotionally, it was kind of surprisingly emotional, but nothing crazy. Again, it's not the Wild Robot emotional, just because I feel like the Wild Robot was intended for adults a lot more than kids. Like, they were pretty balanced. I feel like it was 50-50 on who that movie was for. This one is more for children, but it does have that adult aspect in there. They did try to throw some of that in there, and so there is some emotion that will make you think about your own life, but it's not anything crazy, but it's present. 7th is editing. And this is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 1 hour and 34 minutes long. That's a good time. Honestly, it seemed like they had to really stretch it to even get to the 1 hour and 34 minutes, but that was kind of just because the first part of this movie, the first quarter, that's really the origin story of Dogman. It's honestly just not really well put together. The pacing's not great. There's just parts of it that they just feel forced and stretched out. But as the movie slowed down, it got way better, and then all of a sudden it was ending. And I thought it ended when it needed to end. Again, this movie probably could have been 1 hour and 10 minutes, and it would have been a good movie. It's not the end of the world at 1 hour and 30. I'm glad they kind of kept it as short as they did. I don't think they could have gone any longer. 8th is soundtrack. I honestly don't really remember the soundtrack that well. It didn't stand out enough for me to recognize anything unique about it. 9th is directing. Now I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. The director of this movie is Peter Hastings, and this was his 2nd movie. The 2 movies he's directed are The Country Bears and Dogman. Now, I have no idea what The Country Bears is. From what I could tell, it didn't seem like people liked it all that much. This movie, I liked. It was surprisingly likable. I thought it was a movie that I thought was just going to be very mediocre, but then kind of surprised me and had some things about it that I enjoyed and thought was a really well done kids movie. I'd be curious what else he makes. It seems like he's kind of turned a leaf as far as directing, but he just really doesn't have a pool big enough to make a real judgment, but based on this movie, I thought he was really creative in the way he handled it. 10th is Time. Will it stand the test of time? I don't think it will stand out as any sort of great children's movie, but it's a movie I would watch with my children. I think it's decent. You know, it doesn't do anything amazing. It's not standing out as a classic, but I don't think it'll be forgotten about. I think it's something that could be forgotten about, but it's something that will come around and stay with some families. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 79. The audience gives it an 85, and IMDb gives it a 65. I'm somewhere in between that 79 and 85. I think this is just a lower B tier movie. I think it's a good movie, but what's holding it back is just for me as an adult. It is a little bit more targeted towards kids, and that just makes it a little harder to watch. I'm not just going to throw it on because though I may have liked certain aspects of it, it wasn't made for me. I'm only really probably going to watch it if I have a child or if I'm just wanting to watch a movie that just makes me feel good. It's just a nice little movie to watch, and you know you're going to be happy by the end of it. That's the only reason. I feel like it belongs right there between that 79 and 85. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2025, out of 5 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be first, above Den of Thieves 2. An interesting movie to rank because it is a movie I would choose to watch again, weirdly enough. Though it is for children, it's just a nice feel-good movie. It's a movie that if I just wanted a quick watch that was not that emotional, was easy to watch, and made me feel good, this is a movie I would put on. So I honestly think I would choose to watch this movie on my own. Den of Thieves 2, I just wouldn't. There's no reason for me to watch that movie again. This movie is made for entertainment more than Den of Thieves 2, and it just does a better job. Now, cinematically, out of 5 total movies, it's going to be first, above One of Those Days. This is just a quality movie. One of Those Days is a movie that is an entertainment movie that's done well with very little things cinematically. I think Dogman is an entertainment movie done well with more to offer cinematically. The looks, the emotion, the storytelling, I thought was just better. Again, one of those weird movies where it just ranks higher because it does things well. It does things good enough and then also adds a little bit extra to it on both sides. So it's a surprisingly high movie for me. For the decade of the 2020s, out of 38 total movies on the entertainment side, I have it 8th, just below Alien Romulus and above Beetlejuice. Looking at my entertainment side, I just realized how lacking there is in entertainment. A lot of my high entertainment movies are just movies that are good to watch or easy to watch, but honestly cinematically do something really good, and that's why I would watch it again. This is one of those movies that was just entertaining. The only reason it's not higher is because it just did cater towards younger children. It had a lot of humor in it that I just not going to find funny. I didn't find it annoying. But I do have it above Beetlejuice just because that's a movie that is seasonal. I would watch it in the fall, but it's just not as entertaining. It's not as easy of a watch. It does have a couple issues as far as plot-wise that make it a little bit not as interesting to watch, but it's just really more of a seasonal movie, where this movie I just think is a good movie to put on. It's just an easy movie to watch, and it's not bad. There's nothing to really complain about other than maybe the beginning, but because I watched the last 3 quarters, I know that it gets better, and so that beginning part is going to be tolerable. I do have it below Alien Romulus because that is the section of entertainment where I would start suggesting movies to people. If you haven't watched Alien Romulus, I would suggest you watch it. Dogman, I wouldn't really suggest anyone watch Dogman or Beetlejuice. I wouldn't say, hey, you gotta watch this movie. But it would be a movie I would put on. Now, on the cinematic side, out of 38 total movies, it's going to be 12th, just below Joker von Ado and above Sonic 3. This was such a hard movie for me to place on this list. It took me so long to figure out where I really wanted to put it. But I ended up settling here above Sonic 3, mainly for the emotional side. Sonic 3, it does a lot of good things. I like the world. I like how it built upon the world by getting to the 3rd movie. But it didn't do anything for me emotionally, where Dogman, I thought, It attempted to do some stuff emotionally, and it worked. I thought the message was really cool. I thought it was good for adults. I just think as a movie as a whole, it does a little bit better job at conveying that message and getting you to feel a little bit more emotional. But I do have it below Joker Folie à Deux because that's the line where we start getting into movies that are seriously made for cinematography and they do good things with it. Though Joker Folie à Deux has its problems, there are a couple things that it does cinematically that are really well done. Where Dogman is just an entertainment movie that sprinkled some cinematography in there that happened to work really well. Joker Folie à Deux has its problems, but it does some cinematic things really well. Now, all time, out of 50 total movies on the entertainment side, it's going to be 16th, just below The Mist and above Beetlejuice. I have it below The Mist, again, it's that line where The Mist is a movie I would suggest to somebody. I would say, you need to watch this. It's a movie I enjoy watching. It is more cinematic than entertaining, but the cinematography is so good that it's entertaining. Dogman, it's just an easy movie to put on, and The Mist is just, it's at that line where I would suggest it because it's that well done, where Dogman is just an easy movie. Now, cinematically, out of 50 total movies, it is 18th, just below Joker Folie à Deux and above Sonic 3. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Okay, that's all I've got for Dogman. Surprising movies. These kids' movies kind of surprise me. I don't know why, but they're just easy to watch. I think that's the thing that always gets me, is that because they're made for children, they're easy to watch, and then when they sprinkle some sort of good lesson in there and make you and try to entertain adults, it just always ends up doing a good job of riding the line between entertaining and cinematography if they do it well, which I feel the movies I have watched that are kids movies have done both those things surprisingly well, and they end up ranking fairly high on my list, probably because most of them are wholesome. If you haven't seen Dogman, if you have a child, I would suggest you bring them to it, especially a young child. I think they would love it. If you're just an adult watching, you don't need to watch that movie. It's not that good. You don't need to watch it. If you enjoy watching kids movies, then you can watch it, and I think you will enjoy it. If you have watched it, please comment. Let me know what you think about it. How do you feel about where I ranked it? I really enjoy it when you guys comment. It's the whole reason I made this channel. I really like interacting with you guys. I like to hear your opinions, and comment a movie that you want me to review. If you're interested in somebody who does a similar format as me, then go watch Bosso Movie Reviews. He's my best friend, and he does the exact same thing, except he gets to so many more movies than I do, and he has a very different opinion. He does a lot of older movies as well that I just haven't been able to get to, so go check him out if you're interested. But please comment a movie you want me to review, and make sure you subscribe so that you can watch me review that movie at some point. I promise I will. But otherwise, that's all I've got. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.